Hey BookTube, it's Kim at Middle of the Book March. Today's video is a quick introduction to Emily Bronte and the book Wuthering Heights. Today is our official beginning of the read-along for this book, and I wanted to come on and offer you some background information about Emily Bronte herself, and we'll get this thing started. Emily Bronte was born on July 30th, 1818, and she died late in the year of 1848. She was only 30 years old. I was born 148 years later on July 30th, 1966. And Wuthering Heights has always been one of my favorite classic novels, so that's why I wanted to do this read-along and end it on her birthday, July 30th. I actually was thinking about starting it then, but I figured this is a good time for me. The book is not that long. It's a little less than 300 pages, so I think it's very doable. So let me tell you a little bit about Emily Bronte. She was one of 4 surviving Bronte children. Her older sisters, Elizabeth and Maria, were both sent away to a boarding school where they both became quite ill and probably contracted tuberculosis, and they both died from illnesses contracted while they were at that school. And that school was the model for the boarding school in Charlotte Bronte's Jane Eyre. So there were 4 remaining children: Charlotte, Emily, Anne, and Branwell. Now Branwell was the only boy, and if you know anything about the Brontes, he was most likely an alcoholic, a drug addict, had some mental health issues. At the time, that's not what they referred to it as, but he was, in the colloquialisms of the time, he was disturbed, mentally disturbed. And so he was kind of the black sheep of the 4 Bronte children. Emily lost her mother very young in life. She was 3 when their mother Maria died from cancer. And the Brontes lived a very isolated life in Yorkshire on the English moors, and their father was kind of a country parson. So they lived in a parsonage. But it wasn't, a community or a neighborhood or anything with neighbors close by. They were very closed off physically and emotionally. So fortunately, they had each other, and Anne Bronte became Emily's best friend and confidant. They were the closest out of the siblings. Both Charlotte and Emily, I'm not sure about Anne, possibly, I forgot that part, but they were also sent away to school later I believe, in their preteens or their early teens. Emily only lasted a few months because she was severely homesick and did not want to be at school, so she came home. And both Charlotte and Anne actually had some schooling and then worked as governesses, I believe, which they both hated. Charlotte certainly, as we know from literary history or everything that I've read. But a lot of Charlotte's experiences we read and she wrote in Jane Eyre, so a lot of that, quite a bit of it, is autobiographical. All of the Bronte children were poets, but the 3 girls wrote poetry under male names because it was the 1800s, and girls and women did not aspire to be anything other than wives and mothers or governesses or servants or teachers in order to help support the family. But the 3 Bronte girls wrote under the names Currier, Ellis, and Acton Bell. And so much poetry was found with those names on it. Emily was a very introverted, exceptionally shy, kind of a wild child at home. And she loved being outside on the moors. She loved nature. She had a pet hawk. She also loved dogs, and she loved large dogs. She received an injury from a dog bite, and the research I read, she actually cauterized her own wound on her arm that she received from a dog. And so she was a wild, tough, kind of a lonely by choice character in history. And they only had each other to keep company. They only had the books in their father's library for education. She did not go to school and receive a typical education that we all kind of think about. So they wrote, they put on plays, they came up with their own worlds, and they were very much closed in on themselves and their family. There's not much information on Emily. Charlotte wrote quite a bit of autobiography on all of the siblings, and Mrs. Gaskell, Elizabeth Gaskell, wrote a biography on Charlotte Bronte. And I think she tried to include some family information, but there wasn't much. And there's not even really a lot of pictures or portraits of Emily. There's one or two that survive, and I think all of the Bronte girls looked very similar to each other. But Wuthering Heights, as Emily's only novel, was kind of scandalous at its publication because of the passion, the anger, the brutality of the story. And at first, clearly, the public thought that it was written by a man because they could not fathom that a woman would have written this type of material. The violence and the rage that is included in this story. So I had said this in my previous video. For anybody who thinks this is a love story, that is incorrect. And so we're going to read this week, and we're going to get more information on the literary themes and the content of the story and what it all actually means and our feelings about it. So you can, if you want, write any comments in the comment section down below of this video for the introduction on Emily Bronte. Ask me some questions. I have several links that I looked into to learn more about her as a person and the Bronte family. And we will start reading this book today. The book is divided into two volumes. So by Tuesday evening or early evening or Tuesday sometime, we will read book 1 in its entirety. So I will post a video probably around 5 or 6 Eastern time in the US on Tuesday with my thoughts on book 1 or volume 1. And we will go from there. I think some of you asked for chapter breakdowns because your books weren't divided into volumes. This particular one, this is the Oxford World Classics, and mine is divided into volumes. Volume 1 has, 14 chapters. So this page count it goes up to page 134 if anybody has the same copy that I do in paperback. But there are 14 chapters in volume 1. So that's what we are going to read up until late on Tuesday or Tuesday evening. Please don't feel bad if you fell behind, because I will talk about the entirety of volume 1 on Tuesday in my video, but you will have plenty of time to catch up. The next video after Tuesday will be Thursday, and I have already put the schedule for the reading in the community tab on my channel, and in my Bookish Week video from Saturday, I wrote down the schedule in the description box, and I will put it in this description box as well. So let me know if you have any other questions. Let me know if you'll be joining us on this read-along for Wuthering Heights, and I will see you in the next video. Bye, everybody.